Hey everyone, and welcome to Backseat Sports. We are back with another video. I'm Josh, and that is Caleb.
Woo!
And oh my goodness, guys, today we're doing the video of the offseason. It's the predictions video for the 2019 season. We're talking the biggest games of the year, what we got to overcome to be successful this season, and the actual record predictions from both of us and what we expect for the year. It's going to be nuts.
Oh man, it's really crazy. I can't believe we're back here again doing another season's prediction video.
Seriously,
I'm so excited to get this started. The season's going to be a really, really fun one to cover. I can't wait to talk about each and every game with you guys this season. It's going to be a lot of fun, just like last year. We'll break down what went right, what went wrong, what needs to go to keep progressing this season, and hopefully we'll be talking about a lot more wins this year than the past 2 years.
Hopefully more than the last 2 years combined.
Yeah, that would be really nice.
Think about that.
Yeah, we can. Yeah,
exactly.
Ooh, it's not going to be hard. Well,
no, yeah.
That's what we said the last few years. So
seriously though, Nebraska. No, so on the real though, Nebraska fans have been absolutely tricked, bamboozled the last few years.
Yes.
Coming into the year, excited for what the potential is, and then absolutely disappointed and blowing it against some of the teams we really feel like we should be beating every single year.
Yep.
And we're hoping that that's not the case this year. So before we really get into the video, we just want to quickly say, like, obviously we're going to be touching on all of these games throughout the season. So every single week, we're going to be doing a predictions video for that week and a preview for that upcoming game. And last year, we really dove deep on all of those games. If you guys, want to see those, make sure you subscribe. Click the bell, turn on notifications, because YouTube, makes the changes now, so you don't actually see all of our videos unless you click that notification bell. So we appreciate all the support in the last video as well. Thank you so much for all of that, and we are excited to talk about Husker football.
Yes. All right, let's get into it. So first of all, with Husker football, one news that just been announced is Maurice Washington, the running back. His court date has been set for September 3rd. We talked about that in the last video, and so that would probably mean that he's going to be able to play the first game of the season.
Yeah, we hope.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know what this potentially could mean. Obviously, like, if he's convicted with what's accused of him, then there's a very high chance he doesn't play for the rest of the year after that. So it's hard to say. We don't know at this point. We're gonna have to wait on the court date, but it seems like he's gonna be able to play in the first game. So at least that's pretty good news for Nebraska in that sense. But from there on out, we have no idea.
Yeah.
So it's hard to talk about it besides that. So that's kind of where we have to leave it.
So Nebraska football last year, if you guys can remember, we were 4-8, and we were not a perfect team at all last season.
Yikes.
Obviously, just looking back, the first 6 games were the toughest, as we lost our first 6 games, the first time that had ever happened in Nebraska football's long history, which was really tough for everybody to go through last season.
Obviously, in a lot of Nebraska fans' minds, the first handful of weeks felt a little fluky. I mean, we didn't play against Akron. We suited up to play. The game got rained out.
Weird.
So then we ended up playing against Colorado, and in the third quarter, Adrian Martinez goes out with his injury. Thanks, Colorado.
Dirty.
Dirty. Dirty. Who's
Coming
saying
for
that?
you, 46.
Wow. I don't know where that came from, but jeez. All right, so then the next game was against Troy, where Adrian Martinez wasn't playing, and we only put up 19 points against Troy because we were playing with what is basically a third-string quarterback. Yeah. And then we go into games like Northwestern, where we blow it. I mean, absolutely blow it against Northwestern. We lose 34-31. And then we lose to Ohio State 36-31. It's like, and then we lose to Iowa 31-28. So many close games, man.
Painful games.
Like, there were so many just heart-wrenching, sad games that make you hate yourself.
Yeah, like this close, and then you wake up on Sunday,
empty.
You're in pain.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like there were so many games there where it's like there was literally 5 games where in theory it could have gone either way, man. Like in theory, Nebraska could have walked out with 9 wins last year as a terrible team, and like admittingly we had basically no talent on that team last year, so especially defensively. We don't want to spend too much more time talking about the past because we really want to talk about the future, focus on that for the rest of this video, but we just wanted to highlight the potential that last season had and like the bright moments of the year inside of the cloudy darkness.
We were 4-6 in those last games, and 5-point loss to Ohio State and an overtime loss to Iowa. It's like,
yeah, exactly. So there was plenty of highlights near the end of the season where we played really well, and there's plenty to look forward to,
Yes.
which we did talk about a lot in our last video, which I can't believe we forgot to mention that before this. But if you guys want to watch our last video, it's keys to the 2019 season, and we go through our roster and some of the most important players to watch for this year. So that was our most recent video, so I hope you guys maybe go check that one out even before you watch this one. Because
Yeah, and we looked a lot more at just Nebraska's team in general, from like who we replaced from last year and all that jazz. Roster, depth chart battles, I guess,
Obviously, the Big Ten Media Days were this weekend, so we got to see a lot of, discussion around the Big Ten and what potentially we can expect from teams and players, and we got to see a lot from a lot of different players on Nebraska and Scott Frost as well, of course. One thing he said specifically that really interested me was he's talking about the public testing days for weights. So, in the past, back in the days, Nebraska would have their test results public for their bench press, their 40-yard dash, their cone drills, and that would all be public information. And Frost said he's excited to do that in the future. They said they were not ready to do it last year because it would have been, ugly. But this year they said they're real close, and he's excited to do that in the future. So I think that's pretty exciting and good news overall for Nebraska.
No, yeah, that's really cool. That means their weight program is up a lot, and just having that accountability of being able to just see what our players are able to do physically. Also great for NFL draft and combine, and for players that are coming in to see, like, all right, these are what their starters are doing, and that's where, that's the goals that I need to try to set for myself as well, and that's where I want to get to. And so all that stuff really equates to only good things for Nebraska football.
First of all, we want to kind of talk about the defense a little bit and what potentially that could be like this year, considering I think that's probably the biggest thing for Nebraska is if we want to really take a step forward, this defense has to take at least a handful of steps forward. Last year, some of the biggest missed opportunities were in penalties. We were 119th in penalties in college football last year. We were 96th in rushing defense, 196 yards per game allowed, and we were 103rd in third down percentage. Literally, think about the amount of times last year where teams were executing on 3rd and 10, 3rd and 13, 3rd and 20. Like, it was absurd. Oh my gosh,
14 points in the last 5 minutes to lose that game. And it was all on third downs because we had multiple chances there. Ohio State was the same story. We were just right there, and then we just choke it on third down.
Dude, yes, it was rough. And literally last year, all but 3 of the Big Ten teams were inside the top 45 in third down defensive efficiency, and we were ranked 103rd. All right, so
bad.
it was an unfair disadvantage for us compared to basically every other team we played last year. So those are all areas where our defense has massive potential to rebound and move forward. And I think, rushing defense-wise, I think our defensive line is going to be massively improved. Our linebacking core should be improved over this year. And one positive from our defense, surprisingly last year, was our secondary, especially in the second half of the year, took some pretty big leaps forward. And last year, we were 34th in defensive passing efficiency throughout last season, which is solid for how the rest of our defense performed. And a lot of that is contributed to Dicaprio Bootle anchoring our secondary. Incredibly successful in the pass deflections category. Hopefully this year he can turn some of those pass deflections into picks.
Our secondary is looking a lot better. There's a lot of question marks, and there's a lot of unproven guys coming into that safety position. But overall, it's not hard to jump up when you're ranked at right around 100 in defense. We're on the back half, and there's really nowhere to go but up in that place. And I think another year in the system, especially with, a lot of penalties and stuff, it's just gonna get cleaned up as everybody gets more comfortable in the system. And
absolutely. And 20 pounds of muscle probably will help too.
Yeah, everybody being bigger, faster, stronger. Frost said that does nothing but help.
Yeah, Frost did say in his interviews as well, he was asked what's the biggest difference going into this year? What's going to be the biggest difference for your team? He said confidence is going to free us to play faster and be more decisive on defense. Overall, it should help the team significantly because they're going to be more comfortable in their roles, how they're going to play. They're going to be more confident in themselves with their techniques, with their physicality. That's also where I expect to see the biggest improvement for the squad. So now we can kind of start transitioning into the predictions, and we're not going to necessarily go game by game, but we're going to go through some of the most important games and talk about how those games could potentially go, for Nebraska. Win, loss, however it may be. The over-under for Nebraska season in the betting community is 8 wins. And I think that's fairly fair. Seems like a pretty decent number. Last year, the number was 6. We ended up even worse than that. The Big Ten writers did a poll on who they expect to win the Big Ten. This is pretty interesting. 14 had Nebraska winning. 14 had Iowa winning. 4 had Wisconsin winning. 1 had Northwestern winning. And 1 had Minnesota winning. So the Big Ten network, they believe in Nebraska too,
West,
obviously. to win the West. People expect things from Nebraska going into the season, and I think both of us think that's pretty reasonable as well.
Jumping into our first key game of the year, it's going to be against Colorado. Jumping in our second game, this was a big game for Nebraska last year. Barely lost. If you remember that Martinez injury, which we talked about, Colorado is now, they went off on a great stretch. They were kind of opposite of us. They rattled off 5 straight wins last year, and then the wheels fell off the whole ship, and they ended up firing their coach, have a new one. And Vegas odds they have them over at under at 4 wins this year. So that's pretty shocking that 4.5 wins.
Right,
let's
give them a little credit.
4.5 wins this year. So they're returning their quarterback Montoya, who I thought showed a lot of good things last season. And then obviously Laviska Shenault, who Josh and I talked about last year. Absolute stud of a wide receiver.
Oh, he's so good.
But I think Colorado is a game that Nebraska is going to win. I think everybody remembers what happened to Adrian Martinez, and that is going to be some absolute extra motivation. I think everybody on that defensive and offensive side of the ball is going to bring an extra nastiness and toughness. I think this could be the offensive line's best game of the whole season. They know what they did to Adrian Martinez. Colorado is such a nasty place to play. I mean, things are going to get thrown on the field if we're winning. Things are going to be said that are terrible.
Man, you really like them.
Oh yeah, they're really classy.
It shouldn't be as tough as a game as a lot of people think it's going to be for Nebraska. No. I think there's a lot of games later in the Big Ten season that are going to be presenting a way bigger difficulty, especially on the road, than Colorado. So after Colorado, the next team is Northwestern. The next game that's going to be pivotal is Northwestern. Obviously, Ohio State's a big game, and it's not going to be an easy one by any means. But when it comes to Nebraska's success on the season, winning the Big Ten West is more important than beating Ohio State in the regular season. So at the end of the day, beating Northwestern, going to the Big Ten Championship is the way to go, and that's where we're at.
Yeah. Obviously, Northwestern last year had one of their best seasons ever. They got to go to the Big Ten Championship for the first time for them, so that was really big for Fitzpatrick and his whole program. You know, Northwestern's a team that doesn't make like a whole lot of mistakes. There's nothing really like flashy about them, but they do the right things. And yeah, Pat Fitzgerald's a really great coach. They're returning 11 starters this year. So Northwestern's quarterback is Hunter Johnson, who's a transfer from Clemson. Obviously, he's not going to get any playing time with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, seriously.
That's a pretty big get for Northwestern. He was the number 2 ranked quarterback in 2017's draft class. So, and losing a quarterback battle to Trevor Lawrence is really nothing to
no shame.
Feel bad about. Yeah. This is going to be a tough game for Nebraska.
It's going to be a tough game. I think we're going to have Nebraska slightly eking this one out just because we're coming off a loss to Ohio State. You know, we're going to come out hot, shoot straight.
Lose this game.
And it's at home. We're going to play well. I think we win it.
I personally think Ohio State isn't the same Ohio State as they were last year.
Well, that's a whole new debate.
Yeah.
You know.
And
we're going to be the first. We're going to be the team that figures that out because they don't play anybody else on that schedule before us.
Exactly. So we're their first true test, and I think we beat them. And then I think the high after that, along with Northwestern's always a prepared good team.
Jeez, you just dropped that bomb.
Yeah, I think Nebraska.
Oh my!
But I think we lose to Northwestern. There, you heard it. But
wow. Yeah. Alrighty. Jeez, you heard it here first, folks. So I mean, yeah, that's gonna be a tough one. Then obviously our next tough game is Wisconsin, and that's every single year. It always seems to be Wisconsin that we're like, this is the game we need to win, and once again, this is a game we need to win. Wisconsin, again, projected 8.5 wins. Like they're returning 11 starters, 5 offensively, 6 defensively, and the guy to talk about, Jonathan Taylor. The dude's a monster. The running back, definitely a contender for the Heisman. He put up 221 yards on us last year, and he's a monster. Obviously, Wisconsin's known for their offensive line, which might be a little iffy this year in comparison to past years. This is not going to be an easy game. I think Nebraska's going to struggle in this one, even though it's at home, and I think we might end up losing this one.
Say it every year, but man, I really think we can beat Wisconsin this year. I think our run defense is going to get a lot better this year. I think our front 3 are going to cause a lot of havoc and really be able to help us out. Wisconsin still doesn't, they're having a new quarterback come in for Hornibrook. He's gone. So I think we're going to beat Wisconsin this year. It's at home. We've been close so many times to beating them. I think that it'll finally come through and happen for us this year. So
I'll be excited to do like an in-depth look on this one because I know they're going to be having they have the QB battle between Cohn and Mertz, and They have 4 new offensive lineman starters. They're trying to replace TJ Edwards, Dakota Dixon, and Olive Sagapolu. So, like, those guys are going to be tough to replace.
They always find a way to do it in Wisconsin, though, don't they?
Oh, I mean, of course. But, like, I'm excited to see, like, how they're going to, after a few weeks, we're going to know exactly how good Wisconsin is. And so I'm going to be really looking forward to previewing this game, because that's going to be, by then we're going to really be able to dial in on Wisconsin, have a great idea of what they are as a team, and maybe my prediction will change by then. But right now, I got us losing that game.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, like, the Vegas odds, it makes sense to put them at 8.5, but there is a lot of analysts out there that say, you know, maybe Wisconsin, they only get 7 games this year, that they're having a real downer year. We'll see, but we'll see what Chris is able to do over there for sure.
So the last quote-unquote key game is Iowa, obviously. And, I mean, they're projected for 7.5 wins. They've got 10 returning starters, 6 on the offensive side, 4 defensively. They have a lot of holes to fill, and they're a team that is kind of hard to predict right now as well. They could go on either side of that Vegas odd. It's a tough one to predict right now, but I've got Nebraska winning this one on Black Friday. I think it's going to be a tight one, like it always seems to be against Iowa, but, you know, like I said, I got us winning.
Nebraska, again, has been very close these last few years. I think at homes, again, it's a really big difference. It's always cold when we play Iowa. They don't have they lost their 2 first-round tight ends. So that's a huge holes to fill. You know, I think that this is one, it's obviously circled on both teams' calendars, but man, we saw a lot of swagger from Adrian Martinez when we played Iowa. I think
seriously though. Wow.
I think we saw him be more alive and vocal and active. That could just be he gained confidence toward the end of the season, but I really think he's got a bone to pick with Iowa. Again, we let Sargent, their running back, run 170 yards on us last year. Even more painful than, you know, Hawkinson and
seriously
and Fant was just their run game, and that's what's destroyed us every year against Iowa. It's just we give up big run after big run.
Yeah.
And we've let them wear them down.
They've definitely bullied us the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, to their credit, they've been a lot bigger than us. They've had a lot of talent, and, you know, the thing, like, Ferentz does make his players better from year 1 to 4, and that hadn't really been seen at Nebraska. The trend up is definitely upward, but with Frost, we're going to see our players get better year to year, get bigger year to year, and become a quality football team. And I think that, and we have the most special big player in the Big Ten probably in Adrian Martinez, the most exciting quarterback.
So you have us winning that game?
Yes.
All right, yeah. So the last 2 games that we really want to dive into here are kind of like, we call them wild card games. They're not necessarily the key games, but they're definitely games that 100% could be trip-up games, or trip-up games, or, you know, who knows at that point. These teams could be pretty solid. That's Purdue, and that's Minnesota. Right now, Purdue's over-under is 7 wins. Minnesota's is 7.5 wins. And they're both returning a good amount of starters. Purdue's returning 12. Minnesota's returning 16. And yeah, oh yeah, for sure. And so both teams have the potential to be really good. I mean, Purdue was one of the best offenses in the league last year. Wan'Dale Moore, absolutely fantastic player. And they're both games on the road for Nebraska, so they're not going to be easy in either sense. And personally, I think we're going to drop one of these 2 games just because I don't trust our defense, especially on the road, to make every play we need to make. All it takes is one big mistake to blow a game like this, and against a good offense like Purdue, or, you know, a solid overall team like Minnesota, you can't make that many mistakes on the road if you want to win.
For sure. I think we're going to drop the game against Purdue. They've been a thorn in our foot the whole time we've been in the Big Ten. We've lost, you know, we're 4-2 against them. We've lost twice to Purdue, which isn't great. You know, this isn't Drew Brees Purdue. But,
yikes. But no, it's Elijah Sindler's Purdue. Gosh, dude, are you kidding me?
I think they have a potent offense, and I think that's going to be way more dangerous to us than a good defense, because we have a great offense that I don't think is going to make that many mistakes.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, we're going to allow points this year. We allowed a lot of points last year. I think it'll go down a little bit, but there's still going to be games where our defense is going to make a lot of mistakes. And I feel like Purdue is going to be one of those games away. It's, you know, it could be a night game, and, you know, Purdue's crowd, they have enough people show up, you know, and it's far enough away that, you know,
maybe we'll be there. We'll see. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe might have to make a road trip out for that one, especially if Nebraska's on a roll.
Yeah, if Nebraska's on a roll, we'll see you. We'll see you, West Lafayette.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Marcus Bailey's a great player. He's a senior linebacker for them. He's a really nice player. I 100% could see us losing this game, but I think I'm going to split the difference. I think we're going to win this game, but we might just struggle against the Gophers on the road. I'm not too confident in either of these games, but I'm going to take us losing against Minnesota. I think Minnesota's going to take a pretty big step forward. Last year, they were kind of just a mad team all around. Their defense was especially just below average at best. They were 78th in rush defense last year, 73rd in defensive pass efficiency. I mean, Minnesota came out real hot at the end of last season.
They did.
With wins against Purdue, but a 31-point win against Purdue, only a 10-point loss to Northwestern, 22-point win against Wisconsin, and a 24-point win against Georgia Tech in their bowl game. So they played well at the end of the year. I think they can, turn that one around. PJ Fleck, I respect PJ Fleck as a coach. I think he does good stuff up there in Minnesota, and maybe we'll come out slow up there, and I think we might end up dropping this one on the road.
Man, I don't know. I don't know if I believe in Minnesota.
Yeah, you're a little bit more skeptical.
Yeah, I mean, we absolutely destroyed Minnesota last year. We put up 53 points on them. They did beat Wisconsin last year, which was interesting. But you got to remember, Hornibrook had 4 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and a fumble. I mean,
yeah,
man, that's bad. That's bad.
Oh, man.
I think Georgia Tech's a quality win, and I do think there's something to be said about Minnesota's front seven really kind of turning into something good, especially at the end of that season. While their run defense, I think, will be the most improved thing on their defensive side. I think we're going to air the ball out there, and we're just going to be faster than Minnesota is. We're just going to be bigger than they are. I think Minnesota can definitely be a bowl team again. Like, I'm not saying they're not going to be quality, but I don't see us losing this game.
Yeah, I mean, I respect that. I mean, again, I think we're likely to drop one of these 2 games. It's possible that it could be either of them. So I'm not too dead set on either of them right now. Both of them are going to be contested in tough games for Nebraska.
We got one more game, Josh. There's a lot of people out there that Josh and I have been seeing say that we're going to lose to Maryland this year.
Okay, yeah.
We need to look at this really quick. Maryland, really?
Maryland.
I feel like they're like, oh, it's an away game, so they're gonna lose this one. But let's look here just a little bit. First
of all, they're only returning 9 starters. They have a brand new head coach. They have a brand new quarterback. Like, sure, their true freshman running back last year, Anthony McFarland, was real nice. Like, he was the dude who rushed for like almost 300 yards against Ohio State. Like, he was nasty.
Yeah.
But he only did that in a few games. There's no way they're just gonna make this massive jump in year 1 of a head coach with a new quarterback.
Their over-under for Vegas odds is 4 wins.
Yeah, exactly.
4.
I'm sorry, we're not losing to Maryland, dude.
No, come on. I mean, the Terrapins, I agree that they're a decent enough team, but like, just because they beat Texas in the first game of the last 2 years, like, doesn't mean
this is the type of clip that we will lose to Maryland.
Yeah,
and then we'll have to like play the
turns out Anthony McFarland Jr. is like, he
goes for like 400 yards. He wins
the Walter Camper
record.
But no, I don't think we're gonna lose to Maryland.
So overall, this has been a really long video. Hopefully we can chop it down a little bit, and it's not as long as we actually recorded for. But record predictions, I guess you kind of heard it from us first here. I have us going 9-3 with losses to Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. I'm not that confident in this. Like, when I look at the schedule, first of all, I'm just gonna say this: best case scenario, I see a best case scenario of 11-1. I do see a worst case scenario of 7-5, maybe 6-6 if our defense just does not make any step forward, and our defense is just bad, and we're allowing 34 points a game, and we're getting wrecked by Ohio State. Like, 6 games, I guess, is our we have this massive window of like 6 games is our worst, 11 games is our best. In my eyes,
so like,
it's hard to predict. There's so many 50-50 games. But I was going 9-3. Losses to Ohio State, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. And it could just be better than that.
I legitimately thought I put 9-3, but I then put 10-2 for I think I predicted. So here we are again.
Here we are again with a win against Ohio State, loss to Northwestern and Purdue. That's Caleb Johnson's prediction.
I know our defense is going to lose us some games this year.
That's the thing, man.
We showed a lot of improvement in some places. Linebacker core is still really sketchy. We're going to have to improve a lot. But man, I think Adrian Martinez is just such a special player. It's really going to take our defense losing games for us.
So this was a long video, like we said, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. We really went in, and as the season goes along, we're going to go even more in on all of these teams and and really go to town on predicting these matches as accurately as possible. We did, I think, not to brag, but I think we did a pretty decent job last year, and we're excited to do it again this year and hopefully be even better than last year. So,
exactly.
If you guys enjoyed the video, like, comment, and subscribe. Share the video if you guys really enjoy it. Drop all your comments and predictions and thoughts and hate and love and everything else down below.
Yeah.
And we appreciate it all. So, as always, guys, I'm Josh. That's Caleb. This has been Backseat Sports, and we will see you in the next video. Goodbye.